So let's start from the beginning. What is therapy? Well, therapy is the idea that you need to go through life crying about the bad things that have happened to you, to some other mortal being as if they are God, and that somehow that makes things better. You need to go to some other normal human with their own problems, who's no better than you, and sit there and go, oh, this happened, that happened, and sit there and bitch about it. And that somehow this inaction is going to improve your life. One of my largest problems with therapy is that it's an antithesis to my worldview. And my worldview is that action always wins. Momentum, speed, power, forward, forward, forward. Anyone who's done business with me knows the first thing I say is, okay, good idea. How quickly is it done? The sooner it's done, the sooner it makes money. If it takes 2 days instead of 1 day, that's one extra day we've lost we can never make money during. If you want to be a millionaire, do things quickly. Action wins. Therapy is not action. Therapy is sitting and crying and complaining. Talk is not action. A fucking chit chat isn't action. Is it, G? No. G knows. Action is doing something. If you feel depressed, G, you're gonna spill my fucking coffee. Piss off. If you feel depressed, you go to the gym. You do something. You don't sit and cry about it. No, I feel depressed. Let's go sit and have a talk. Words don't count as action, not in the harsh realm of reality. So that's one of the first problems I have with therapy. The idea that therapy is somehow necessary or mandatory is just new age Western garbage. I actually watched a really interesting documentary about a girl in the 1970s who was in a plane crash in Brazil, I think it was, somewhere in South America. And the plane crashed and everyone died except for her. And when she woke up, the plane crashed, she was knocked out. She woke up, still in the seat, next to her decapitated mother and dead bodies all around her. She got up, she foraged for food, she had some cuts and bruises, one of them got an infection. For 4 days she was surviving the jungle before she was succumbing to the fever she had from the infection. She laid down ready to die and got found by some local people which nursed her back to health. She ended up going back to Germany. She was a German girl. And they said, well, what happened afterwards? She goes, well, I went to Germany and my dad obviously thought I was dead, but I wasn't. So he told me to get a job and I got a job and that's it. Carried on with life. And literally they asked her, well, didn't you go to therapy? She saw her decapitated mother next to her after a fucking plane crash. And her reply was, no, in those days we didn't do therapy. She just carried on with life. Now you're telling me that she can carry on with life and get on with things after seeing her decapitated mother, after fucking nearly dying from some jungle fever bullshit. But you need therapy because people say mean words to you on the fucking internet? You're a pussy. The thing with all this new age shit is that some things should be universal across the human condition. If therapy was so necessary, it would have been necessary forever. The fact that it wasn't necessary before and is now necessary means it's new think, new age, and you've been conditioned to believe that you need it. I've actually sat across from therapists 3 distinct times. I'm gonna tell you what happened. So for these 3 times I had to see a psychoanalyst were all for TV shows. I've been on a variety of reality TV shows.
I'm telling you what I've seen. From what I've seen, 8 of you, snakes, you know, snakes. Not arguing with someone to their face and slacking them off to the diary room.
Don't rise to it. Don't rise to it.
You call us all snakes?
Oh yeah, well.
Be respectful, because you come into here. You came into here and we called 8 of us snakes?
Yeah, of course. And they make you go and see a psychologist to ensure you're not going to kill anyone else or kill yourself or anything weird when you're on TV. So I'm sitting in front of this psychologist. I sit down and he goes, oh, hi, what's your name? I'm talking to him. We're having a little bit of a chit chat. And then I said to him, he asked me, oh, why'd you become a kickboxer? Thinks he's fucking smart, Mr. fucking pen and paper. Why'd you become a kickboxer? Violent tendencies. He likes to appear masculine. Fuck knows what he was writing down. Some gay, stupid shit. Why'd you become a kickboxer? I said, why'd you become a therapist? He goes, oh, I really found it interesting. I said, yeah, but it's not science, is it? And he goes, well, why do you say that? I said, well, 1 + 1 is always 2. But with an alcoholic, you can have a person whose father was an alcoholic, so they're an alcoholic. You can have a person whose father was an alcoholic, so they don't drink alcohol at all. People can be in the same situation, have very different outcomes depending on who they are as an individual. So it's not science because it's not exact. The whole point of a science is that you can predict the future. For something to be science, for something to be exact, you have to be able to predict the future with it. 1 + 1 is 2, which means if I take 1 and 1 and put them together again, it will be 2 again in the future. This is how we can put rockets into space, because we can predict, we can see where the planet's going to be. We know where to put the satellites. We can work things out. You can predict the future with a science. You can't predict the future with psychology. You can't sit there and psychoanalyze someone and tell me what I'm going to do. You can't stop me throwing this cup of coffee in your face. You can't stop me doing shit. You don't know anything. So it's not a science. And he sat there and he thought, this motherfucker's smarter than I expected. And he waited for a few seconds. He goes, oh, well, it's not exact, but you know, there are some very general rules. Psychologists do this a lot, psychologists, therapists, etc. They give stupid ass answers. And because 99% of people are stupid, they get away with it. I said, oh, there's some general rules. Then why are we speaking, friend? Because I'm not a general individual. General rules, by your own description, general rule means it must apply to people in general. It must apply to the masses. It must apply to normal people. It's the average of the bell curve. I'm an exceptional individual. I'm a 4-time kickboxing world champion with a genius IQ. I've made more money than you will ever make. I've done things you could never do. I'm smarter than you are. So why are you talking to me? All of your general rules do not apply to exceptional people. Otherwise, they'd be rules for the exceptions. You just said general rules. You have just admitted you are not qualified to interview me. So he sits there with his pen, doesn't know what to say because I'm correct, and just starts writing things down. So he's writing things down, and eventually I got tired of him writing things down, so I stood up. Just stood up really quick. And as I stood up, he shat himself and dropped his pen. I stood up and he went and dropped his pen. These are your masters. These are the therapists you worship. These are your lords. And I said, his pen was on the floor. I said, you dropped your pen. And I walked out the room. Now, why did he shit himself? I'll tell you why. Therapists live in a world of inaction. To sit and chit-chat and talk and discuss. Maybe, tell me when you were 12, that time you had that orange juice, who gives a shit? I live in a world of action, and you know what action is? Physical force. He was afraid that I was going to attack him. Now, I'm not a violent man. But because I embarrassed him, because I destroyed his worldview so brutally, he was left in a state of childlike fear. He was left in a state where he was sitting there feeling vulnerable. So when I stood up and he saw my pure physical prowess, my final point on therapy, it is detrimental. Not only is it useless, not only is it not science, not only is it bullshit, it actually makes people worse. The worst thing you can do if you have a problem is sit and fucking talk about it all day. People say you shouldn't bury your problems because if you repress them, that's bullshit. World War II, how many people died? Did everyone sit around and fucking go, oh, we don't have time to rebuild all the cities and create the NHS. We need to sit and fucking talk about all the bad things that's happened. Every single person has a horror story, from Russia to Germany through France, England, America, the Japanese, the Philippines. Everyone has something bad to say. So let's somehow clone the entire population of Earth so we have enough fucking therapists and sit there and talk all day instead of getting shit done. Bullshit. People shut up and they got shit done. There's nothing wrong with fucking having something bad happen to you, internalizing it the best you can, maybe speaking about it with someone close to you, but in general, just shutting the fuck up and getting on with it. Therapy is detrimental. If you're the kind of person who feels like they need therapy, you need someone to talk to make me feel better, do you know what you are? You're useless. Because in the harshest realities of this cold world, there are people in Syria whose entire families have been blown to fuck with a bomb from the sky, who are still getting up every day, making fucking bread and selling it on the streets so they have enough money to buy a new pair of sandals sometime next year. While you're crying about fucking nothing with your first world bullshit to some dickhead therapist who probably does coke on the weekends. Another thing therapists do, you'll notice, they talk in riddles. They speak in riddles. Well, why do you think that is? The reason they speak in riddles is because they don't tell you anything. They ask you questions. Because if they ask you questions, they can never be wrong. If they tell you things, they're wrong. If you sit there and go X, Y, Z, and they go, oh, that's because of X, Y, Z, then you can say, no, it's not. Fucking moron. I'm out of here. But if you go X, Y, Z, and they go, and how do you think X is related to Y? Then you talk for another 20 minutes. That's another hour burned. Burn that time up. Keep paying the fucking bills. They don't say anything of relevance or anything of merit because they can be used against them. They don't want anything used against them. They just want you to fucking sit and chat shit. It's garbage.